Welcome audience, this is Sabahat Ashraf, aka Fakir with Viewpoint from overseas. Welcome, Assalamu alaikum, Bakharat, and here we are again with another show. Today, this week, there's been a discussion on foreign policy, a new ambassador, or maybe not a new ambassador,
of Pakistan
to the US, and foreign policy. Then we have what is happening in the economy and the IMF, and somewhere in the background, they're building a dam. So in the middle of all of that, and we have fundraisers, by the way.
Yeah, and you're going to a fundraiser, yes.
Today, and there was one last week in Sacramento, yes.
Oh.
So there was a fundraiser in Sacramento, there's another fundraiser today at Shalimar in Livermore.
Okay. Yep.
Our show will take a while to get around, so the fundraiser will have been done by then. But anyway, to get started here, let us jump right into foreign policy, ambassadors, what is going on between Pakistan and the US. So let's start with you, Misbah Saab. Let's see how are you seeing the current situation and the uncertainty with ambassadorship, and in the background is Pakistan-US relations.
Yeah, actually, so far I did not read any news regarding changing of ambassador, although there is a lot of rumors and news coming from the sources and all those kind of things. Nothing more than that. However, the current ambassador to US, Pakistan's current ambassador to US is always controversial from the day one. I mean, even in Pakistan. And second thing is that the ambassador has to be acceptable to certain power centers there. Well, I should not say certain, one power center.
Most importantly.
Yeah, most importantly. And if that is not the case, then he or she cannot survive here. So now let us see. Maybe Malia Lodhi will be a next ambassador to Pakistan and somebody else will take over UN ambassador position. Or both will be called back and some third person will be there. We don't know that, how things are going.
Yeah, see, the situation is pretty complex. So now the problem is US-Pakistan's interests are not converging in Afghanistan. We all know that, right? This is not a news to us. There has been a lot of resentment on both sides over Afghanistan and over CPEC and over various other issues as well, Taliban and all that. Now, I don't know whether Ali Siddiqui, since he's been appointed, he's been under a lot of pressure. He's been under radar by many that Ali Jahangir Siddiqui does not have a good CV to be an ambassador. He does not have a diplomatic background. Now, despite all of that, the question really becomes, is he here to stay? Do you know? Since his appointment is been a state of ambiguity that Ali Jahangir Siddiqui is just going to be here temporary. Now, when there has been so much noise that Ali Jahangir Siddiqui is not here permanently, he's just a temporary ambassador, or he may now under PTI government, he may no longer be an ambassador. See, this creates a lack of confidence of Americans to trust Ali Jahangir Siddiqui, to negotiate with him. And Ali Jahangir Siddiqui from inside, I mean, he's probably thinking that, well, I mean, should I start this initiative, start this project? If he's sitting in front of an American audience, I mean, his effectiveness is not there, right? I mean, so first of all, there has to be a permanent solution to this, that, okay, Ali Jahangir Siddiqui, or whoever it is, XYZ, is here to stay. If he's here to stay, then from then onward, the person and the American audience and the Pakistani establishment and the Pakistan democratic forces can really trust, okay, now we have a guy, now let's move forward. So I think these are some very minor issues that needs to be resolved. And I think, I don't know, I mean, Qureshi Saab was here last week, and I think that probably is going to be a decision. But now the bigger problem is, how should the Pakistani ambassador to US should look like? I mean, not in that sense look like, but meaning what type of resume or a CV he should have. Should he have the blessing of Pakistan's military establishment? Should he have the blessing of Pakistan's democratic sitting government? Should he have a good relations with Americans, and especially American think tanks, American policymakers? All of that needs to be worked out. And I guess if that is so, then they need to look for somebody like this. This is in my opinion, because interests are not converging. I think Misbah Sahib, you have something to say.
No, I actually just one thing.
Go for it. No, sorry. I was going to come to you.
Yeah. So one thing is, there are certain things American establishment knows very well. If they decide to work with Pakistan, suppose they know that the person who is not kind of a blue-eyed boy of the military establishment there is no use to talk to them. And second thing is that what is the powers of the civilian government, who runs the policy, defense and foreign policy, they all know that. So they will not work with Ali Siddiqui unless the military shows their backing to him.
Yeah, I mean, so the criteria is very simple. Military establishments backing, good relations with American think tanks, and knowing how the policy making dynamics works in US, and then ideally having a good relations and a confidence of a democratic setup in Pakistan. So these three are, I think, the key criteria, and then obviously it has to have some political science or diplomatic background.
And only some general.
Actually, see, the other thing is, on the background thing, I might disagree with you with a little, not necessarily, but he has to have at least personal political skills and be able to navigate. See, the other thing is, we keep talking about having the ear of the establishment and having at least decent relations between the military establishment and the political establishment. But on the other hand, I think some of the more effective ones, or at least the most interesting ambassadors, have been people who can juggle them, not just one or the other, but can juggle two or three things. I mean, most famously, Hussain Haqqani, immediate past or 2 ambassadors ago, had a very interesting tenure. I always saw him as...
10 years? No.
Tenure, yeah. So I always saw him as being sort of a personal representative for the then president of Pakistan. And he was in a very sensitive position, the president, because it was a new democratic setup. He was trying to, by some tellings, he was trying to hold the country together, basically. And therefore, he needed someone in DC that he could trust or had his full confidence, right? Let me get there. But beyond that, Haqqani Saab had a history and later proved to basically rub the military establishment the wrong way. And the other thing I want to put on the table, which in this scheme of things is not that important, is we also want, as overseas Pakistanis, we want our ambassador to be effective, to know bureaucracy, to make the embassies and the consulates run properly. And Haqqani Saab was very effective on that. He had amazing outreach with the community. He visited the Bay Area a couple of times. We got to meet him. That's another factor.
So let's, I think I want to touch on a fundamental issue. US-Pakistan interests are not converging. Why are they not converging? What are the key conflicting point? Number one is Afghanistan. We all know that, there has been accusation that US says you're supporting Taliban. Pakistan says no, we are not. We don't. The sitting government in Afghanistan is in the pocket of India. All those allegations we have seen. CPAC, the US is not very happy about CPAC. Pakistan being too close to China. All of that, I mean, these interests are not converging. Pakistan needs an economic help. That is the other factor. What type of ambassador do you need at this point?
Yeah, see, the thing is...
And then, by the way, if you have the interest not converging, instead diverging, no matter how good of an ambassador you put in place, his job is not going to be easy.
No, actually, the thing is that you say, and very rightly so, that there are certain points, where we have issues, with the US and Pakistan. So Pakistan should look at it. There are certain things Pakistan can deliver, certain things Pakistan should not deliver. I mean, that is the
key.
It is.
Yes.
Yeah,
so let's hear those out.
Like a CPAC, Pakistan should not deliver on that. I mean, to US demands that you just roll back or anything. If they say that, I don't say that they are saying it, but as the perception is being created over there. Afghanistan, Pakistan must deliver. I mean, the thing is that this old thinking of establishment over there to control Afghanistan, they should pull out from the, although they say we don't do it, but US says they do it. Okay, so there should be a convergence point there. And as Dr. Yusuf say in his talk when he had a book,
a talk that is on our website, by the way.
On our website, and he say that now at least it is converging there, that both parties say, okay, let's talk to them.
To the Taliban. To the Taliban. See, here's the problem. Now, here's the Pakistan's narrative, right? The sitting government in Afghanistan are in the pocket of India. They are taking Indian narrative and they are providing intelligence bases to India or across our border. The Indian intelligence, like whole Kulbhushan Yadav incident, we all know that the people like Kulbhushan Yadav have been active in Pakistan. So, I mean, you know, so all those have to be factored in. And I think Pakistan has well, I mean, if you have an enemy, India sitting on your both sides of the border, for India itself, India on the eastern border and on the western border, Pakistan knows that India is being strengthened on the western border. So now there will definitely be a sense of anxiety. And then on the Iran side, Pakistan has not had a friendly relation with Iran either. So, I mean, if you are sitting as a Pakistan security analyst, obviously you will have a very, very different view.
Yeah, but let me jump in here. Let me take a step back and actually challenge particularly some of that narrative. The thing is, on the one hand, and this becomes, you know, the US establishment says, and I'm afraid a lot of us out here and even some experts in Pakistan buy into that, or we act as if what the US is saying is valid. Yes, the US has interests there. Pakistan has interests there. But what the US has done, and as Dr. Al-Najm puts it, the mistrust is mutual. And the mistrust on both sides, both on the Pakistani side and the American side, is very well founded. There are very good reasons for Pakistan to mistrust the US, and there are very good reasons for the US to mistrust Pakistan. But unless, and I think this was Moeed Yusuf Saab's point, unless, and I know this is the point Adil Najm makes, that unless both sides work at getting past that narrative, right, until they see that this is not a partner, whether we like them or not, this is a partner we have to work with. And then I will widen that conversation to India. It is not, and you know, we get into this narrative, oh, India is the enemy, India is doing this, Afghanistan is bad because they're working with India. Let us take that lid off too. Afghanistan is dealing with two very huge and heavy neighbors, Pakistan, India. And Afghanistan historically, going back to Zahir Shah, has often tried to play them off against each other, and particularly use India as a counterpoint to Pakistan, to try to control Pakistan, and you can't begrudge them that. They have to work that way. But at the same time, they have to be careful not to piss off the big gorilla next door using the elephant from down the street, because in the end, they're playing a very fine, or they should be playing a very fine game. So
they meaning Afghanistan.
Afghanistan should play a fine game, try to work in all of that, and there we also have to have some compassion, even as not being in Pakistan, for the Pakistani point of view. But it is not as simple as saying, oh, no, India is evil, Afghanistan is evil because they are trying to keep their neighbors happy and maybe use one against the other, play that. So you know, it's a wider picture than that.
So if you know, there is one more point. I mean, Pakistan, generally there is a view in Pakistan that Taliban were of favor to us. Taliban were our partner. They were allied to us. Well, that's not really true. If you read the book of Mullah Abdul Zaif, who was the then ambassador of Afghanistan to Pakistan, they were not as friendly. They did not agree on the Durand line. Taliban did not agree on the Durand line.
Right.
They did not agree when Pakistan's democratic government asking for Riaz Basra of Sipai Sahaba, who was running military camps there, to hand him over because he was a murderer, and then Afghanistan's government did not agree. So what I'm saying in that sense, that it's a wrong view in my, based on what I think, that Afghanistan under Taliban was not so much friendly, was not so much allied with Pakistan. Misbah.
I agree with you, and that goes back to this Sabahat's point that Afghanistan somehow tried to, just for the survival, they try to play around the situation around there. So this could be true to some extent, but the thing is that there is Iran also one big partner, one big country. Those days it was Soviet Union, very big one. So of course it was not only that. I mean that Afghanistan was not as smart that they can make both them fight together. There are a lot of things, and you and I can talk. We can have a full show on that because there were books written by Afghan diplomat. I forgot the name.
Mullah Zaif or the other?
No, not Mullah Zaif. This diplomat was before.
Oh, Zahir.
So we should talk about.
So let's put this. I want to Sabahat, I want to ask you this. Where does US and Pakistan's interests converge?
So here is my thing. I don't even look at it so much as the the distinction is also between what the actual interests are and what the policies are, right? Because sometimes we can confuse policy with strategy with interest. Because in the end, at least to us, a peaceful Afghanistan should be in everybody's favor. The US worries about terrorism, actually, I'll come back to this. So about terrorism, because terrorism can come out of unstable states in difficult parts of the world, Somalia, Afghanistan, even Yugoslavia. So that is one interest. And the actual interest, having a peaceful Afghanistan, is common. However, on top of this, there are other interests. For the US, it is containing Russia and before that the Soviet Union. That is an interest on which Pakistan initially was with them, but right now they're also making good with Russia. Then there is the interest of India. On the India thing, right now, the American and Pakistani interests are starting to diverge because the US has an amazing trade partner in India. They're using them for strategic leverage against China. But Pakistan's views in India have not changed a whit. So there the interests converge. That's one. Then we talk about China.
Converge or diverge?
Diverge, sorry. Now, there they're starting to diverge. And then there is China. On China, historically, when the US wanted to make good with China, and this is now ancient history, so to speak, Pakistan played a very interesting role in helping connect them.
Yep.
But the interesting thing is China has been what Pakistan calls an all-weather friend. They've been useful as a strategic partner. However, two things, right? Firstly, the US is concerned about China and therefore they have to play that game. Pakistan has to play that game of, we want the economic development that China is helping us do. On the other hand, we are concerned about leaning too far that way because the US might come after us. We don't mind pissing off the US as long as they're not coming after us. So there's that issue. On the other hand, on the nuclear issue, as Dr. Moeed Yusuf was saying, when Pakistan's nuclear becomes a concern, then in that case, the US-China line up together and try to prevent, they've been working to try to prevent problems or actual hot wars. Although in that case, Dr. Moeed Yusuf's point was very interesting, that all they do is prevent a hot war. They don't actually help solve anything.
Yeah, and that is the crux of his book, that how the third party kind of reduces this kind of...
Just reduce it just a little. It doesn't help solve the problem.
Exactly.
So, all of these, so it's not just a matter of only good, bad interests, right? So it's also, I hope folks at the top are looking at those issues in that level of...
So let's flip the question. Is it in US interest to have an unfriendly Pakistan?
I don't think so.
No, I don't think so. I mean, the superpowers, big powers, they never want any... Okay, define friendly.
No, unfriendly.
No. Define
what unfriendly means.
Yeah.
What friendly, unfriendly.
When you say friendly, what is
friendly means Pakistan, the way Pakistan used to be in 1980s when they were fighting the Afghan Jihad. That is no longer happening, right? Now, friendly Pakistan means where US and Pakistan have a healthy relationship. Pakistan can monetize on US against India. Well, that's definitely not going to happen.
Okay, that is your definition.
Yeah.
But in the real world, superpowers decide what is the definition of friendly.
See, that's the point.
I am a superpower. Suppose I'm talking about you are Pakistan, I am US, and I am telling you, you have to do this, so I can give you this much. That's it. That's why. Why? When Pakistan was friendly with US, Ayub Khan's time, when Ayub Khan gave the station there in Badabir, when Pakistan, but the thing is that at one hand, US signed some kind of treaty with Pakistan.
CETO.
I'm not talking about CETO.
After that, right.
I'm talking about the defense treaty under which US has to help Pakistan.
Right.
When 65 war happened, US said, no, we cannot go that far. That you are fighting with India and we are coming to...
And even arms.
1962, US helped India, although India was a Soviet bloc, although they say non-aligned, but they were not non-aligned.
They were pretty Soviet bloc.
So all these kind of things, we have to be put in the right perspective. And I think that, going back to Faraz's point, that friendly means you do this way, I do this way. Then I will do this.
No, see, the question really becomes, if your interests are not converging, they are diverging, can you stay friendly?
See, my point is friendly. Again, I think I agree with Misbah Sahib here. Depends on how you define friendly. If friendly means you must do what we tell you, then that becomes a difficulty. But if friendly goes to a deeper level, like US and Europe or US and Britain, where you say, okay, we are friends, we have common values and all of that, then you work out the differences. You say, okay, on these things we will agree, on these things we will not agree. Like the US-Europe relationship, on strategic and defense has been very allied for a very long time, but on economic issues, they have diverged hugely at times, right?
Yeah, it is very interesting. Farrukh Patafi, he is a very famous anchor person in Pakistan media. He told me personally that he interviewed Dr. Stephen Cohen. And Dr. Stephen Cohen say that, in a state, among the states, the friendship is based on the mutual interest. And then he paused and he said, but with Pakistan and China, I cannot say it for sure that this is the only one example where this is not happening, that Pakistan and China help each other. However, after CPAC, we know that Chinese growth in towards the problems in the South China Sea. China is eyeing it for a very long time. Now Pakistan is a very strategic
see, the potential has always been there. Yeah. But let's table the Pakistan. In fact, what occurs to me is that we need to actually maybe sit down sometime and talk about Pakistan and China, because the way I see it, that relationship is changing. It used to be one of helping each other and all, but now China is coming in as an economic,
which is a risk as well.
That's what I'm saying. We need to unpack
that. Could blow very badly if not managed well.
That could go very, very badly from what I'm hearing. We had some friends visit from Pakistan and all. On the street in Pakistan, people are starting to get a little restive about all that dominant Chinese issue. Like, I had this friend visit who works in infrastructure in Pakistan. He's like, when they have a project that they want to do, even the lineman who gets up to the top of a pole to install the camera comes from China. That's not a good model. In fact, that's the kind of thing we used to complain about with UN aid and IMF aid, that they write into the projects, you must use American companies. And that American
people can take it really blow. And we have had some incidents already.
There are already incidents. Anyway, so I think we should wind up this project. Although very quickly, I want to just quickly ask what the economic, the IMF, because it's connected to this, because the thing about Pakistani government going to the IMF, and I think that, to me, it connects to foreign policy, because Pakistan needs to stay in the good graces of the US, or the US, again, in the end, is not preventing Pakistan from getting an IMF loan. How do you guys, just quickly, each person, one after the other, can you touch on that? How do you see that dynamic, particularly not just in the Pakistani context, but in the global context as well?
Faraz. See, Pakistan had to go. We somewhat knew this, right? PTI government had a different narrative during election campaign, actually, and they became hostage of their own narrative.
The PTI folks have been pointed out that at least for a month and a half before the elections, even that song had changed. They were starting to say we might have to go.
I don't know if it had it even changed. The PTI followers were not
the followers were not doing that, but now they are quoting Imran Khan saying.
So most of us knew that they would go to IMF, and PTI, after coming into government, they are actually becoming hostage of their own narratives, whether it's a type VIP culture narrative, whether it's an IMF loans and all of that, right? 90-day plan and, you know, all those changes. So I think from a US-Pakistan relations perspective, I think, you know, after all, you know, Pakistan had to monetize on its whatever friendship or whatever relations it has with US on IMF. Now, we have to, I am still not clear after taking this loan, will Pakistan get out of this circular debt or not?
I don't think so. This is
and this will increase, and now Pakistan has to figure out a way to somehow increase its exports, right? I don't know whether from a capacity planning, how well of a plan PTI the sitting government have to increase the capacity
and
to increase the imports, and it takes a long while. And then obviously when you talk about increasing imports, US becomes one of the biggest trading partners.
Exports.
It is still a biggest trading partner, and for exports, you're dependent on US. So how much of your goods go to China? Probably not even half of what you send to US.
Right.
So obviously that this is why you need US on the US healthy relations with US, right, so that you could be a trading partner. One more thing, Vietnam is a good example. We all know US relationship with Vietnam. Now the biggest trading partner of Vietnam is US.
It's the US, right?
And US is heavily investing. I mean, you know about the Intel fabs and all that. It's been
a lot
billions
of clothes here. I mean,
billions of dollars have been invested into Vietnam.
So let's get to Misbah Sahib and then let's wind it up.
The thing is that there is a dilemma for Pakistan. Pakistan has to take, first going back to the simple answer to your question, yes, they have to do it. And Asad Umar Sahab is now, just today he said that I never said we will not go to IMF. It was Imran Khan who was saying that. I mean, so let's not worry about what they say. That
okay,
sure.
Fair enough.
This is election campaign. Yep.
Yeah, it is election campaign.
No, this was much longer than election campaign. But let's not go there.
Campaign. It was. I would say that we would talk like that. So. Okay, now we go there. Our debt will increase. There would be very tough conditions because we delayed so much to negotiate with the IMF, and US is going to watch it. What kind of loans and where the loans will be going. And there is a say now that there is some kind of talk in the media, not sure it is true or not, that IMF will want to know all the details of CPEC. That is a dangerous thing. In Pakistan.
How is it dangerous? Why is it dangerous?
No, actually, the thing is that whenever you negotiate, you make a partnership with some other country, that is between you and that country. Unless that country agreed, yes, right, go ahead, do it, I don't care.
But in this case, the problem is that nobody knows those conditions. Even Pakistanis don't know.
No, that's true. No, Pakistani government...
Not the government, but the average person.
I'm sure they know each other. So, unless the Chinese government would not agree on that, it will not be easy for Pakistan. And then what will happen? Other conditions will come. And I think this is just coming as a pressure tactics on Pakistan, FATF and all those things. And Pakistan is going to see a tough time, and Khan Sahab and his government now should come out from this opposition mode. I'm just tired. You know, every show they are sitting and, Noon League did this and they are chores.
Well, that's the nature. Anyway, let's wind up there. We'll come back to that. Let's wind up there. Audience, you've seen a rather robust discussion here. I'm glad we did that. Please follow us on talkforpark.com and our Facebook
and send us your feedback.
Yeah. Send us your feedback. What did you discuss? What did you like? Didn't you like? And we look forward to unpacking some of the bigger issues in the future with Faraz Darvesh, Dr. Misbah Azam, and I Faqir here. Have a good week. We'll see you again next week. Assalamu alaikum.